Okay. Alright, finally, we're away. Okay, so, as I've been alluding to, welcome to Genocide, welcome to Undertale. Here is the video game at last. Amazing, we get to play the game. So right off the bat, you can see movement in this game is very simple. Moving through text, not so simple. Text mashing is one of the most important skills that all runners need to play this game well. They're typically achieved by using the Z and X buttons, as well as the corresponding keys on the right hand, enter and right shift. One set of keys is to display the rest of the remaining text box, and then the other is to load the next text box. So runners have different methods to try and advance text as quickly as possible, which, as I say, you're going to see a lot of that through the run. What you're also going to see a lot of throughout this run is a lot of combat. This is a very combat-heavy game, but this is an especially combat-heavy category. It's the only category in the game where you actually actively fight enemies. As with True Pacifist and Neutral, you generally avoid the enemies, but it is a necessity to kill not only every enemy that you see in Genocide, but to kill everything you possibly can. You actively need to grind enemies in this category. So we just have some initial puzzles teaching the player how to play the game, and we get our first encounter here. So this is a Frogget, which with a central hit, yep, we can hopefully kill. There is some RNG in the damage rolls, and thankfully Silver did get the kill. It's possible to miss that kill on the Frogget if you don't get a perfect hit, and you only get one turn to try and finish that fight. If you don't finish the Frogget off in one hit, you don't get to end the encounter, and you don't get a level up. The level up is relatively important for finishing the rest of Ruins in a timely manner, as it does actually boost your damage output and can make certain 2-hit KOs on other Froggets either difficult or, depending on the damage rolls, not really possible to get. So we get a very long corridor here. Toughest challenge that the player faces, yes, crossing the room on their own. It's a very long room, to be fair. But once we reach the next room, then, you know, the gameplay happens proper, as it were. Next room is the first opportunity we get to get encounters, and the players are going to start immediately grinding for encounters. They're going to go from room to room, and every time they get an encounter, they're going to transition to the next room. So they're going to get the first encounter in this room right here. And there's two encounters that you can get here. We see both players have a Frogget right here. They have 30 HP, they're always going to take 2 hits to kill. This is the worst encounter that you can get out of the two because it always takes 2 turns. The other one that you can get is Whimsun. So every time they get an encounter, like say they transition to the next room, this is to reset the step counter. The step counter is very important in this game for determining when you actually get your encounters, and it is on average quite a bit faster to reset the step counter after each encounter. So they're just going to be transitioning from room to room like this. Now I mentioned that Whimsun is the quicker enemy to get. Hopefully they're going to see some here, maybe. Alright, so Silver's got a Whimsun. As you can see, this is a one-hit kill, and you can hit it as soon as possible. You'll always one-shot it. It's vastly preferable to get Whimsun, but you don't really have control over it. It is just RNG. It's a 66% chance to get a Frogget and a 33% chance to get a Whimsun. So, WizardVapes right now, really not having a good time with the RNG, unfortunately. Silver has started getting a string of Whimsuns back-to-back. This is pretty lucky. WizardVapes has not seen anything yet. Silver just continuing to get a Whimsun. Alright, there we go. WizardVapes getting a break right now. So, as far as the number of enemies that they're going to be killing here, they're going to be staying in this area, these two rooms, until they get 12 kills each, I believe. And they'll progress to the next room after this cracked tile room, and they'll get their 13th kill in the room that they end up in. So, for each main hub in this game, that being Ruins, Snowdin, Waterfall, and Core/Hotland, you need to kill a certain number of enemies to maintain the Genocide mode in this game. If at any point you don't reach the end of an area, by the time you've hit the kill requirement, you abort the Genocide ending. Like, you need to maintain the kill counts in order to achieve the Genocide ending. So these guys are going to, as I say, get 13 total kills before they progress out of this general area. Then they're going to move on to a later room where they can potentially get double or triple encounters and grind out the remaining 7 kills. There are 20 kills total that you need in the Ruins, and the reason that we're fragmenting this grind into 2 separate grinds is because the encounter rate in this game is not static. The encounter rate is initially very high. You can get encounters very quickly, but the more kills you get in a certain area, the lower the encounter rate gets. The more you kill things, the longer it takes to gain encounters, and that's even with resetting the step counter and transitioning from room to room. So it eventually reaches the point where, after you have gotten enough kills, it becomes slower to keep going for singular encounters. Like, for each singular encounter, getting more Whimsons is very quick because they are very quick encounters, but the encounter rate gets low enough that we want to start getting more than one kill per encounter, if that makes sense. The worst situation that the runners can end up in is to reach the end of the grind having only 2 kills remaining and to have a single encounter spawn on them. So they're going for the 13th here. Forget Silver. So if Silver gets a Whimsun here, this can make up like a lot of the time. He can actually put them. Okay, right, there we go. So they are pretty much exactly tied up coming out of there, just showing the difference that the encounters can make. So they're just going to get through this room, a little mini floor puzzle. Not bad, not bad. So this is the room that can really make or break the ruins pace. They're both completely squared away here. We could see one runner being way behind the other, coming out of ruins, depending on how this room goes. This is the room that gives you a lot of different types of encounters. And there's the single mold small for WizardVapes. And for Silver. Alright, this is weird. So it's one thing to get this encounter at the start of this half of the grind. As I mentioned though, you really don't want to get this with 2 left. Because, you know, it necessitates you getting another encounter, and then it puts you on 1 remaining, which makes your next encounter take a lot longer to find. What they ideally want to find at this point is Whimsun and Frogget. Okay, that's double Frogget. That's not awful, but, you know, it's not perfect. Whimsun Frogget is by far the best encounter you can get here. Another single for Silver. This is brutal. Like, at this rate, this is exactly what I mean by you can't call who will actually be ahead in these races just based on the seeding. Like, this is not Silver's fault at all. This is just how this works. Okay, a double. He's finally getting something of a break. Yeah, wasting all the good RNG on the Whimsons. That's like, this is what I kind of tell people, that it's really nice to get lots of Whimsons in the first half of the grind, but it's honestly not the most important thing here. The most important thing in Ruins is that you don't get a bad second half. And it's like, it happens a lot. It happens so often. It's only a 23% chance to get a single mold small, but runners will tell you that they always get it. I'm not lying. It's true. There's no science to support it, but it happens anyway. Alright, what we got here? Yeah, as you can see, now that we're getting to the end of the grinds, this is what I mean. The encounter rate gets very low. You cannot be serious. I'm serious when I say that it's a 23% chance for each single encounter to be a single mold small like this. So this is absolutely rotten RNG. Like, completely rotten RNG. Now, assuming that WizardVapes has 2 left, something that he can exploit in this situation is that, contrary to what a lot of people believe about Genocide, you don't need to kill everything you come across. If he spares a mold small here, it's not going to abort the Genocide route. As long as you kill all of the unique encounters you come across, and then fulfill the kill requirement, you can spare all of the other just random mobs you come across. But he has taken this last one. So if, for instance, he was already at 20, you'd be free to just spare this last mold small and carry on. Okay, is this... Alright, so strangely enough, despite all of the singles not coming out too far apart, that's really surprising. I don't know. This game is really weird. That's all I can say. This game is confusing sometimes. And now we get the indication that the runners have indeed met the Genocide requirement, the but nobody came messages. This is what happens when you have cleared out the area completely and there is literally nothing remaining for you to fight. So this gives you a total indicator that you have fulfilled the Genocide requirement. You can just go on and kill the area boss. That was a really early encounter for WizardVapes. Strange. But yep, they are maintaining very close pace here now. There's not really any time variance in this section other than how optimal the movement is and how quickly they get to each singular, point they need to reach. This is like the most fundamental of movement and just speedrunning right here. It's just get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. Very simplistic stuff. So, depending on how confident these guys are at the final fight, they do have the option at this point of going for the pie in home. Like, the two big heals you can get in this game are the pie and the instant noodles in the lab. Generally speaking, though, runners just opt to get the noodles for a single opportunity for a heal at the halfway point in the Sans fight. You can get the pie, as I said, but it is a few seconds out of the way, so a lot of runners prefer to just not get it, and that's something that I agree with. There you go, menu wings hard. But still about even. Like, it's tricky. Don't get caught on stairs. Alright, good. They both listen to me. Good things happen when you listen to my advice in this category. So coming up to the first boss fight of the run, and I mean, I'd like to say it's tough, but that's not really honest. The boss fights in Genocide don't really work the same way they do in the other categories. You just one-shot all of the bosses immediately. Well, I say all of the bosses. There's two boss fights which are very, very involved, but for the most part, you just plow through all of the bosses in this category. There is a lot of like lore reasons behind why that happens, but suffice it to say you really hate these monsters on Genocide mode, and that makes you hit a lot harder. And then, yeah, unfortunately. And now we just have to carry on with our killing rampage. So, all things equal, I wouldn't call this a particularly good start to a run for either racer, but they are both on pretty similar footing, so for the race itself, still, you know, pretty evenly squared away. I'm not sure if either of them will be on potentially good PB pace at this race, but, you know, for the race itself, both of them are still in very good standing. And apparently that's the game. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Sub 12 for Genocide, that's really good. I never thought Genocide would get to sub 12. Alright. So Snowed In is the second main area that we have in the run. It's going to be the first opportunity for the runners to pick up a new weapon. There are different weapons in this game. There was a weapon that they could have picked up in Ruins, but it's not faster to do so. We just skipped the toy knife. But once we reach the magic box in Snowed In, we're going to pick up the Tough Glove. It's considerably more powerful than the stick, and is quite important for some of the encounters to be quick in this area. And we first get some dialogue with Sans and whatnot. Yay. Very funny joke, game. Very funny joke. And many of the cutscenes in this game are different in Genocide as well, with the character just not really bothering to cooperate. Like, very aloof, just above all of this. So now the save points are also going to show how many kills you have remaining for if you ever, you know, lose count while you're going through the area. Using mental math is generally quite reasonable to do, though, and we both grind the first encounter here, which is always going to be Snowdrake. Snowdrake does count as a unique encounter, though. Like, you really need to kill this guy to keep on the Genocide route, but there's no reason that you wouldn't kill Snowdrake. And now, an interesting little bit of trivia about this run is that I mentioned that the Ruins grind is done in two separate halves. Theoretically speaking, if we were going to try and construct the perfect run, it would be faster to also segment Snowed In into two halves. But for reasons of practicality, like probability and such, it's not worth trying to do the first half of a grind here. So we're always going to get ice cap for this encounter. If we could guarantee that the next several encounters would be ice caps, it would be faster to get singular encounters there. But alas, it's not a probability play, since you can also get Chill Drakes, which take 2 hits to kill. But if you could get several encounters there, it's possible to end up at level 8 before the next mini-boss fights. And if you're at level 8, then it can potentially subtract a turn from each of those fights, making them a bit faster. But it's just not a probability play, so we just do the bulk of the grind at the end of the area. It's It's also technically very slightly faster on lesser dog to spend the first turn using the stick. It has a shorter usage time than a first turn because it drops the dog's defense and then it makes the second shot immediately kill them without needing to aim a good shot. The probability of getting enough ice caps is very, very low. You need at least 8 ice caps and it's a coin flip for each one. So it's very, very low. So Silver pulling ahead a little bit and going to get the next encounter on the bridge here before the mini-boss fight. So this is the first instance in the area where you can get either this encounter with Ice Cap and Jerry, or you can get Ice Cap, Childrake, and Jerry, which is what WizardVapes has. So for the first, I would say, half of the rest of the grind, it is preferable to get just Ice Cap and Jerry, simply because you can be done with the encounters faster. The encounter rate is still high enough that you're going to get them fairly quickly, and you would rather not have to deal with the enemies getting extra turns in these combats, because whilst Jerry is on screen, he actually lengthens the enemy attack animations by a couple of seconds each, which is just, it's kind of awful to deal with. As for this mini-boss fight with the married dogs, the runners actually go out of their way to attack the female dog first. Once she is dispatched, the male dog actually does become a one-hit KO with a good central hit, as you can see there. So this is a bit faster than dealing with both of them individually. A neat little perk, if you want to call it a perk of playing Genocide mode as well, is the fact that all the puzzles are disabled as you're going through. So Flowey's already solved all the puzzles for us, and or the quote-unquote protagonist just doesn't want to deal with the puzzles. So we just walk straight through everything. Very streamlined. Optimized gaming experience. It's far lower than a 1 in 8 chance, yeah, because 1 would be 2. It basically doubles each time, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, 32, 64. It would be at least 1 in 128. Because you need each coin flip to come up a specific way each time. Now, the Greater Dog fight, this is one of the fights that I alluded to before, that if the player is at level 8 at this point, this fight can be 2-hit rather than 3-hit. There is still a little bit of time that can be saved in this fight, depending on which attack the runners get. Silver got unlucky here, getting 2 spear attacks in a row. The other attack is the dog just lying at the bottom of the screen. If you run into the dog, it cancels the attack animation early, saving you a couple of seconds each time. So let's see if WizardVapes gets any of these. Alright, that's 1 spear. Still 1 more chance to get a dog attack. Also, best track in the OST. Bad luck for both of the runners, unfortunately. So, again, for the purpose of the race, neither got better or worse RNG than the other in that fight. And now this is where the rest of the grind is actually going to begin. So we first need to enter and exit Snowdin, and this screen is where the rest of the grind is going to take place. It's right next to the loading zone, so it's by far the quickest area to exit the map. And as I mentioned, for the first few kills, ideally the runners would like to just deal with Ice Cap for each encounter. It's not the worst thing in the world to get Ice Cap and Childrake, it's just that you need to take 2 extra turns to kill a Childrake, and the turns take longer than they should because Jerry is on screen. But it does mean that you're getting more kills per encounter, so the time loss is mitigated somewhat by the fact that you are getting more kills per encounter. The runners, of course, can choose to kill Jerry, but by and large, they want to avoid it if possible. Jerry takes a long time to kill. Jerry has massive defense, and it takes like 9 attacks to kill Jerry. You only kill Jerry if sparing him would leave you with 1 left. So basically, in all cases in this category, the runners are going to be put in a situation where whether to kill Jerry or not is basically a coin flip. Because let's assume they're at 3 left, and then they get a triple encounter. That's a 1 in 2 chance to get a triple encounter. You may as well take Jerry at that point. Consequently, if you're at 2 left, and then you only get a double here, like where Wizard has Ice Cap and Jerry, you still want to take Jerry because you're at 1 left, and you don't want to have to grind another encounter with 1 left. So it really does just depend on the RNG. It's basically a coin flip whether the runners kill Jerry or not. Yes, we had 2 Jerry kills yesterday. So, as far as I know, there's been no Jerry skips this tournament yet. And to be able to skip Jerry does save a bit of time. Like, if you're at 2 left and you get a triple encounter, it is faster to kill Ice Cap and then Chill Drake, rather than to kill Ice Cap and Jerry. That is faster. Now, this is a weird point in the run as well, where if the runner has kind of forgotten where they are in the grind, familiarity with the music can help you regain your bearings. Because with the encounter rate dropping, the more kills you have, the time that you get the encounters is generally going to correlate with a specific point in the music track. So if you've learned to recognize it, you can learn to recognize how many kills are likely to be left based on where the music is when you get the encounter. Sounds like Wizard still has at least a few kills left, so I'm going to be I haven't been paying attention to how far along Wizard is, but on the next encounter, I'm going to be paying attention to the music and seeing how many are left. I get the feeling that Silver is at this point probably closing in on the end of the grind. And he's gone back in, so there is encounters left, which I expected. But so let's listen to the music, and I'm going to see if I can estimate this. That's 3 left. So I'm making a prediction right now. WizardVapes is going to finish this encounter. I believe this is another Jerry kill for this tournament. I think he's going to go all the way and take all 3 of these encounters, because I'm fairly sure, based on the music, he's got 3 left. We shall see. Silver going for yet another encounter as well. So, I don't know. This is strange. Yep, there he goes. He's going for Jerry. See, I always know what's going on. Always trust me. You don't even need to pay attention to your kill count as long as you are good with the music. I am getting all them beats and that. And yeah, this is why you don't want to kill Jerry, if possible. But this does mean that he's going to be finishing the grind first. So, I don't know, maybe it's better. Maybe it is optimal. Unless we are again virtually tied up coming out of Snowden. What is this? All right, looks like we are going to get a repeat of yesterday at this rate. Gotta love all these races being 2 seconds apart. This is not supposed to happen. This is not supposed to happen. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I think we're going to have an investigation after this. This is rigged. Alright, let's see the mashing make all the difference. I mean, alright, you gotta mash faster to make up the time, but okay. Yeah, I don't get this at all. It's all a bit weird for me right now. That's right, Silver didn't kill Jerry, so yeah, this is the first Jerry skip of the tournament. Could have sworn that he skipped Jerry on a previous encounter, though, so that being the case, I'm pretty sure if that happened in a previous encounter, it would have been faster to just take the Jerry in a previous encounter. So, you know, optimally, it should have still been a Jerry kill. It should have still been a Jerry kill. I am fairly sure. So Waterfall, and this is a really weird situation because, okay, there's more opportunities for the runners to have some time variance based on their execution whilst going through Waterfall, and I would say there's fewer opportunities for RNG to really start creating a divide between the runners. Silver going for the small frame time saver. There you go. If you know the strats, you'll save a little bit more time. I'm telling you. I am telling one that is a thing. So yeah, as I say, probably fewer opportunities for RNG to really swing this. Not like you would expect in Ruins or Snowdin, I'd say. Waterfall is a bit less of a volatile area. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still encounter RNG, but I would expect more time variance to come from the actual execution aspect here, because there are some movement-based segments to perform here, and yeah. So first of all, we're going to come across a scripted Aaron encounter right here, which I believe both runners are going to skip. Aaron is not counted as a unique encounter, so they do have the option to flee from it. Now, the Washua, this is something that's a little contentious. I still don't really... I think the jury's still kind of out on this, unless I just need to look at the numbers more, but I've personally always skipped this Washua, but apparently it's faster to kill it, so people have apparently started moving towards that. Maybe this is why I don't have world record. This is the entire reason, because I don't take this single encounter. So now here's the first instance where, as I say, this is like a piece of movement-based tech here. You get a couple of chase sequences with Undyne. First one just has you avoiding volleys of spears as they follow you. And the hitbox on the character's model is a little displaced. Like, it's not exactly where you'd expect it to be. Long story short, the hitbox seems to be displaced a little downwards. In other words, the top of the head doesn't really have a solid hitbox, and the hitbox extends a little further out from where the feet are. So if you're going to misdirect these spears in one direction, it's generally better to try and make them go high, since you can actually make them pass through the top part of your head relatively safely. Whereas if they brush past your feet, you're probably going to get contacted by them. Looks like both of them are getting away with no hits, though. Yep, alright. I have heard that it's possible to get hit by the spears by just moving right in that last segment. I don't think it's ever happened to me, but apparently it's happened to at least one person. I'd like to see it happen, though, because that would be the ultimate insult. Like, alright, I got past the hard part, we're just doing the free part. Whoops, I took a hit. What a good game. Just, that's how it works, isn't it? So, Silver picks up a very bare amount of time there throughout that segment. That's like a couple of seconds, it looks like. I'm going to take stock, actually, once the room transition happens. So, room transition at 27:18, Silver. 27:23 for WizardVapes. So there is a 5-second difference between the runners right now. Again, at this point, that is very impressive that they are this closely contested. So we don't get the punch card in this category because we can't. The NPC isn't there. That's the main reason why this is a relatively glitchless category. If we could get the punch card, this would be a much shorter category because you can actually skip sands in this category if you have the punch card. That would save about 10 minutes from the category and would defeat the purpose of the category for a lot of people. So we first get a scripted encounter here. This is always going to be a double mold small for an easy 2 kills. And then we go to the left screen to get the ballet shoes. This is our next damage upgrade. It is, once again, just like the tough glove, it is a significant damage boost. And it is absolutely necessary if we're going quick in this section. It also slightly changes the battle mechanics. You're going to see once the next encounter starts that rather than having a single cursor and mashing the button, you have to time 3 button presses to get max damage out of the ballet shoes, and you want to get them as close to the center of the screen as possible. To get a precisely central hit is a 2-frame window. There is also encounter RNG here. You can see the 2 runners got different encounters, and a single Aaron. I agree with Silver, this is not worth taking. So Aaron spares another Aaron. WizardVapes going for it, though, just wants the kill count. So a fairly solid hit from WizardVapes, but the main reason that Aaron is skipped, you see there that that wasn't a one-hit kill. It's unfortunate to say that even if you get a perfect hit on Aaron, and even if you're level 10, that's still not enough damage to one-shot Aaron. Aaron is always a 2-hit kill, which is why most runners opt to avoid it. Shiren is always going to be a one-hit kill if the hit is, reasonably good. And then there's just a little more walking for the runners to do before they reach the second Undyne chase section. Now, there is RNG in the Undyne chase, technically, but it's relatively simple to manipulate. There's going to be spears that shoot up from the floor and try to harass the players, but the spears read your inputs. The game looks at the inputs that you're holding, the directions that you're going, and it tries to spawn the spears in the direction that you're going to basically try and block your escape. But this means that they're very easy to misdirect, since you just wait for them to spawn in a certain direction, and then you head in a different direction, and you're pretty much always going to evade them. With perfect movement in the second spear section, you should be able to consistently misdirect all the spears and not lose any frames of movement, ideally. It's tough, though. It's quite tight to move through the second chase section completely perfectly. So like, I'll be impressed if I see perfect movement from either runner here. I can do it. Well, sometimes I can do it. It is tough. Alright, so Silver's the first one to reach it. Okay, so if I'm going to be super nitpicky, there's already... Okay, well, even if the spear hit hadn't happened, not perfect movement taking place here simply from not cutting the corners as closely as possible. Like, you got to get super nitpicky with this category with how little room there is for optimization elsewhere. You got to optimize what is there. If it wastes a frame, it's not good enough. Which means text mashing. No one's ever going to have good text mashing. There's a couple of people with pretty good text mashing, but not like task standard. You just can't really do that. So Silver with one accidental spear contact. We'll see if WizardVapes manages to get a cleaner run through here. Yeah, Silver's getting away with one fairly easily, though. Nice performance from Wizard so far. Needing to take a little break there, though, to avoid that one. It was a fairly unfavourable RNG pattern there with it completely walling them off. Alright, so looking like Wizard is picking up a little bit of time on Silver in this section. We'll be going into the second half of Waterfall now, starting with the Glad Dummy fight. I call it a fight, but you just attack him and he dies. It is very possible to actually attack Glad Dummy too quickly. Both Glad Dummy and Temmie, which are the next two encounters, have 5 HP each, and even though it's a very low amount of HP, the damage dispersion on the ballet shoes is so wide that if you get the quote-unquote worst possible hit, you can deal less than 5 damage with it. So, although you want to get a hit as fast as possible, it's worth waiting at least a few frames before dealing the first hit, just to ensure that you actually do get the damage, because if you overmash and somehow manage to deal less than 5 damage, then yeah, you suddenly turn that into a 2-turn fight somehow. It's confusing, but it can happen. So here we go. Let's see how Silver does with this fight. Oh, perfect. Perfect fight. One shot. Amazing. I've never seen anything like it. I could never do that. So Silver getting the Temmie right about here. This is a scripted encounter. You'll always get this. And again, just hit it fairly quickly. So now the grind for Waterfall begins. So we're in kind of a weird situation where I need to kind of count up Silver's kills. So Washua, Aaron was skipped, then double mold small, then another Aaron was skipped, so that's 3. Sharon is 4, 5. So he's currently on 6, so that was 7, 8. He's currently on 8, I think, so he's got 10 kills left, I think. It's, you know, do maths hard, especially when you're trying to keep track of 2 runners. But for Waterfall, the runners want to get 18 kills total. So now as long as they just get the kill requirement, then that's all they really need. And there's a potentially weird situation they can both find themselves in where the final room of this area is very long. It takes a long time to traverse through the room. It's so long, in fact, that ending up with 1 encounter left is not really a guaranteed time loss the way that it is in other areas. It's actually favorable, if possible, to end up with 1 remaining, to travel through that room and then get a Temmie at the end of it. It's a small chance to get that, but it is the best situation that you can find yourself in. A very, yeah, I'm going to say a very strange movement route there from Silver. I don't agree with that, but okay. And we get to see a little bit of strat variance here from the runners, where Silver spared the Aaron. WizardVapes is going for it. So WizardVapes, like we're saying, WizardVapes is quote-unquote behind Silver in terms of where in the area they are, but WizardVapes currently has more kills, I believe. So like I say, this is... I'm waiting for this to just be, oh, we're entering Undying like 2 seconds apart. It's gonna happen. It's guaranteed to happen. 20 quid. 20 quid says that it happens. I don't know to who, but 20 quid. As long as they know how to handle the end of the grind fairly efficiently. Alright, this is actually awful RNG for WizardVapes. I mentioned that like there's not really much room for RNG to make much of a difference here. This is making a difference right now with getting these optional errands, because the encounters at this point are random. There's a couple of scripted encounters you get, but then they are random, and you want to see as few errands as possible. I don't agree, game. I don't agree whatsoever. Okay, there's a double. A good double at that. This is the best encounter you can get with Moshua and Molbig. So, where is Lord Sylvington at? Grinding for one more. So here we see, this is what I mean, WizardVapes is closing in, and assuming that there is one left, this can be a pretty appreciable time save if this is a Temmie. Again, like, I'm telling you, cancelling out that time difference. Alright, well, there's another... This does depend on whether it's 2 or 1 left, though. Okay, but Silver is moving on now. So, first instance where there's actually like a bit of a divide between the runners for entering the next boss. And WizardVapes also moving on. So, this is looking like approximately a 10-second difference. Probably a bit more. I'll see. I'll find some way to time it. Let's see when the soul flashes on the screen. Alright, 36-13 versus... Gonna be like 23. Yeah, it's like a 9 to 10 second difference, like I said. Again, I always know what's going on. I don't know how often I'm gonna have to say, just trust me, just trust the judgment, and it'll be fine. Now, assuming they don't get a message as they go up here, this is the only instance where the game actually gives you a warning if you haven't fulfilled the kill requirement. But Silver is fine, and Wizard is fine. Okay, they're both on pace for Undyne. So now, let's see. I have no idea how proficient either of our players are at getting the Undyne quick kill. This is one of the only legitimately difficult fights in the game. Undyne the Undying. This is just a fully fledged boss fight right here. You need very high hit accuracy to get what we call the quick kill, and this fight is difficult just to survive on its own. At a high level, the main problem with this fight isn't so much whether the runners are going to survive the fight. It's kind of assumed that, you know, they have the skills to survive through the fight. But if you want to get a quick time, you really can't afford to take many hits, because if you ever take a turn out to heal, you absolutely cannot get the quickest kill in this fight. By that I mean, the runners need to get these hits with fairly high accuracy. You see there, Silver opened the fight with a 1550 hit. Undyne has 23,000 HP, and in order to get the quick kill, we need to finish the fight in 14 turns, because the 15th turn is a very slow attack. So what that means is that the runners need to do an average of about 1,650 damage per hit. You need to get virtually perfect hits to achieve this. If you get 2 of these central golden hits, which is a 2-frame window or a 15th of a second, and then you miss one of them, you'll typically get like a 1,650 hit, like around about there. You can afford to miss a total of 12 of these individual curses across the entire fight, but you need to keep the quality of hits as consistently high as possible. Like, this is very difficult to manage. So I'm very unsure so far about, you know, whether either of these guys are on pace. I mean, it can always be assumed that if from this point onwards they play the rest of the fight perfectly, they will both get the quick kill, but that's really the sticking point. It depends on if they do play the rest of the fight perfectly. And we did have yesterday a very close instance where one of our runners somehow didn't get a quick kill when they really should have. Unfortunately, from WizardVapes' side, that was on the last turn a very suboptimal hit, getting about 1,300. Like, that is quite costly, and it potentially could make the difference. Yeah, I'm not so sure about WizardVapes being able to get the quick kill now. Silver has not been getting all perfect hits, but it may still be high enough, we'll see. Yeah, it's tough to call. I'm really not too sure based on what I'm looking at. perfect from Wizard though, not bad. But a 1500 from Silver, I don't know, like... Numbers, too many numbers. It's all numbers. Yeah, this isn't looking like it for Silver. I think even with a perfect, I don't think this is it. Unfortunately, there you go, that was a perfect and that's not it. So this slow attack that you see on Silver screen, this is what we ideally try and avoid with the quick kill. This attack takes a long time to get through. So unfortunately, neither runner quite getting it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I really struggle with the quick kill. Considering my PB in this game, I feel like I should get the quick kill more often than I do, but for some reason I'm really inconsistent at aiming the ball issue as well. Which is surprising considering that it does have a wider timing window than the remaining two weapons in the game. The runners can get either the burnt pan or the empty gun whilst going through Hotland, and hitting with both of those weapons is considerably harder than with the ballet shoes. There's 4 curses as opposed to 3, and getting a perfect hit is a 1 frame window, or a 30th of a second, so you need to hit a quadruple frame perfect hit in order to get a perfect hit with those 2 weapons. And perfect hits aren't necessary to get certain one-hit KOs in the core grind, so it's very technically challenging. The ballet shoes, by contrast, has a lower technical ceiling, but I don't know, I still struggle with it because I'm just bad. So the gap has widened a little bit between the runners. I'm looking at how the waterfalls went for each respective runner. I'm just going to blame the RNG for that one. Like, WizardVapes got really bad encounter RNG going through waterfall, needing to deal with multiple irons showing up. That really is what made a lot of the difference there. So lab entry at 4132. To 4142, still like a 10-second difference. So Silver now using a bit of a glitchington, doing, yep, the early pan glitch. So, and WizardVapes doing the same thing. So both these guys are going pan, and this is, I don't do this glitch, but it's weird. You can, with a certain interaction with the dog food bag as you enter that cutscene, you can still retain control of the character. Even though the model doesn't really correlate to what you're doing, you can interact with the fridge, and then getting the instant noodles and interacting with it again gives you like the next item in the same item pool or something, and that happens to be the burnt pan. It's weird. Essentially, it's a really odd glitch which gives you the instant noodles and the pan simultaneously, which is very convenient since it means the runners don't have to go out their way to actually collect the pan here. Not a bad hit with the pan. So yeah, WizardVapes not equipping the pan yet, which does make Sunderplane a considerably tougher fight. With the ballet shoes, you need to get a very good hit to actually one-hit KO Sunderplane. It has 80 HP, and you can see they got an 86 there with a very good hit. But if you equip the pan, then it's a considerably easier fight. And these Royal Guards are also very, very weak in Genocide. Like, any respectable hit will finish them off in one hit. Random bomb volleys. I mean, my worst nightmare in this category is somehow being at very low HP at this point and then somehow taking a random hit in that fight. It is very possible to die in that fight if your HP is low enough and you get the wrong RNG on the attack patterns. And yeah, the frame save with the shoes, it's true. One of the weird things about this category is that the different weapons do not actually uniformly take the same amount of time to attack with. The attack animations are slightly different and they take a slightly different amount of time. At the very end of the run, after the core grind is done with, I believe both runners are going to be re-equipping the ballet shoes, as it actually saves at least 10 seconds across the Sans fight, just from the animation being shorter. But before that, we've got Muffet here, and then we've got the actual core grind. So for the purpose of the kill count, Hotland and core are both treated as the same area. Like, once you reach Hotland, it'll tell you you've got 40 left, which is a lot of enemies, don't get me wrong. But you can get those kills in Hotland or core, and it is considerably faster to get them in the core. So yeah, any respectable Muffet hit there will deal a one-hit KO. It's not a trivial hit like some of the other fights. You do still need a good hit to one-shot it. But it just happens. And then we get a brief little cutscene giving a moment of silence for Muffet. Unfortunately, this is not skippable. I wish it was skippable, but nah. So since both runners have got the burnt pan as their weapon, you have the option at this point to stop off at Bratty and Catty's shop to get the empty gun, but neither of them are going to bother since they've already got their weapon. And they also have the option of stopping off at the Burger Emporium for heals, which Silver's not going with, so feeling pretty confident about Sans, it seems. And doesn't look like WizardVapes is either. Alright, both of our runners just going with instant noodles for Sans. So the ideal scenario there is that halfway through the Sans fight, you basically get a moment of reprieve where Sans isn't going to do anything to you. And at that point, if you really need to take a heal, that's the fastest opportunity to do so. But before that, we have the core grind to take care of. So as I mentioned, at this point, both runners need 35 kills. The first 9 kills of the core grind are entirely scripted. These are always going to be the same enemies. And the 8th and 9th kills are enemies that require perfect hits to one-shot. You still need decent hits to one-shot these enemies, but they're much more trivial than Night Knight and Magic, which are the 8th and 9th enemies. And then, after Night Knight and Magic are taken care of, the encounters in this area become random. And there are a lot of different encounters you can get in core. You can get anything from single encounters to a variety of double encounters to even triple encounter. Seeing as many triple encounters as possible is, on average, better, but it is not very reliable to hope on getting it. So Silver's next encounter after this Frogget and Astigmatism is going to be Night Knight Magic. And then we're going to see the hit quality. Like I say, the hit quality really, really matters here. You need a quadruple perfect hit to one-shot Night Knight Magic. So here we go, good luck. So unfortunately, yeah, super unfortunately, at this pace, gonna need a better second hit than that to even get a 2-shot on Night Knight. And they're almost getting the frame perfect second hit. That can be a really bad feeling when you get a quadruple on the second turn when you don't need it anymore. Okay, so at this point, as WizardVapes encounter finishes, both of our runners are at 9 kills, and they're now entering the random section of the grind. So there is some big potential for time variance here. So Silver already starting out with poor RNG. I mean, assuming that your hit quality is perfect, this is a regular encounter. But again, you need perfect hits to one-shot these guys. So Silver currently losing a little bit of time over WizardVapes since this encounter is going to take extra turns compared to virtually any other encounter that they could have gotten. But WizardVapes, unfortunately, fluffing the hit a little bit on Astigmatism. Of the trivial enemies, Astigmatism is the toughest to get a one-hit kill on, because you need to do 120 damage to reliably one-shot, and then he does get the dreaded perfect hit on the second turn thing. That's what I mentioned, which is a little bit of an annoyance to see. Okay, it's WizardVapes' turn to get a bad encounter, though. The only encounters that are truly bad encounters here, though, are the single Night Knight and Magic. You know, like you have a tough encounter where, again, you need to get a perfect hit, but then additionally, you need to simply get 1 kill per encounter, which is, like, it's awful. So Silver here is maintaining a very slight lead. Going into another regular encounter. Just at this point, if the runner can just continue to get regular encounters, they're pretty grateful for that, all things considered. Just as long as they don't get bad encounters. A triple, okay, the game throwing WizardVapes a bit of a bone here. These are all relatively simple kills, and he's going to get 3 for his trouble in 1 encounter. That's going to be good enough for, yep, the Astig. And Whimsalot is a... Well, okay, I was going to say... Alright, there you go, that's really forgiving. That shows you how forgiving Whimsalot is. That was basically a 3 cursor hit because a mistake was made in the first one, but Whimsalot doesn't have very much HP, so you can still get a one-hit kill with a reasonably good hit and then another triple. Yo, this is really uncommon. It's like 18% for a triple encounter, I think. So, wow, 2 simultaneously. I don't think I've seen that before. And Silver gonna need to wait on another second hit for this astigmatism. Yeah, just going for the weakest hit possible since 3 remaining HP. You'd have to try very, very hard to not one-shot at that point. Oh, close as well. The single night, and that's a real disappointment that this is looking like it's going to need to be a good second hit for this to even be a 2-shot. That should be good enough. All right, okay. What a weird situation, though. This is, yeah, really weird encounter RNG. So Silver will be really grateful to get a quadruple on the magic if you can, and Wizard with another triple. This is insane. How do you get quads with the gun? Practice. The exact same way that you get quads with the... I'll show you tomorrow in my races. I'll show you how you get it. I've never seen this many triples. What is going on? I know there's 2 player feeds, but still, this is... Wow. I don't like this. This race has had cursed RNG the whole way through. Ah, super close for WizardVapes. Thankfully, that is going to be a 2-hit kill on Night as long as the second hit is reasonably solid. Yeah, that's more than good enough. Yeah, a triple perfect. So, you can see on Silver's screen there's 10 left. So, all of the grind does not take place on this bridge. What we need to do is grind until there's 7 enemies left, and then there is a section in the northern area where we get 7 scripted encounters without needing to wait for the encounter RNG. And Silver actually finishing off in perfect style with another triple. This actually puts him on the 7 remaining. This is perfect RNG for this point. This actually cuts off an encounter that Silver needs to get. This has been a really, really insane core for both runners. Not necessarily with the execution, but the RNG has been really something else. I mean, I can't talk. I struggle with getting quads in core as well. I can't talk like I'm better. But yeah, this is pretty remarkable. So Silver is going to have 1 more set of Night and Magic to take care of. The second encounter on the bridge is another final Night and Magic encounter. Wizard with the quad on Magic when he no longer needed it. You hate to see it. But there is Silver with an important quad. That is the best time to get it. 1 more for a perfect end to this grind section. I mean, as long as he doesn't miss the stick. Nearly. That was close. That was very close. Oh my god! I feel really bad for WizardVapes right now. I'm going to be brutally honest. Core has basically cheated him out of this. Like, out of a... If the RNG had been different, I want to say it could probably be both a PB and, you know, a winning result in this race, but he's kind of really been cheated out of this. That's really unfortunate. Because unfortunately, at this point, there is virtually nothing that can swing the race result, short of Silver managing to take a death on stands. That is the only thing which at this point can actually change the race result. There is not really much time variance from this point onwards. There's a lot of the run left. There's nearly 20 minutes of the run left, but there isn't actually much that can happen. The rest of the pace is, I don't want to say auto-scroller-like, but it's not too far off. And just adding insult to injury, a 3-hit on Night, that is one of the worst things to have to deal with. But getting a quick hit out of it, yep. And Metaton Neo, as we can see on Silver's screen, is really nothing to write home about. Metaton Neo is quite a joke. And another inconsequential quad. I'd like. All right, the game's kind of laughing at WizardVapes. This is like a little insulting towards him. Like, yeah, you can have quads, just not the ones that actually save time. It's fine. This is what you want, right? Nice quad on a stick. Again, not necessarily required to get the one shot on a stick, but I'm sure I'll take it. Another pretty solid hit finishing off Wimslot. So both our guys should be completely done. I mean, obviously Silver is done, progressing towards new home now, but WizardVapes should also be done with this grind. There we go. And WizardVapes also just moving towards Metaton, remembering to equip the ballet shoes as well. Again, that's a pretty non-trivial time save throughout the Sands fight, considering it's meant to be virtually an auto-scroller, but it gives you a nice little time boost. And at this point, I'm going to let just the ambience of the run take over for a bit, and I'll resume duties in a short while just before we get to Sands. Alright, we're back and coming up on the end of the run. I totally didn't need to just BRB for a couple of minutes. But, yeah, we're coming up on the big finale of the run. The point that everyone is waiting for in a Genocide run. The Sands fight. Everyone knows about this fight, I believe. And although, as far as time is concerned, the pace is supposed to be pretty static going through the fight, it's nonetheless very challenging, and runners really have their work cut out for them getting the fight in a single attempt, and Silver is going for it without a save. Very brave. So, you know how I mentioned about the only thing that could actually change the race result is if Silver dies in the fight? That's pretty true now, considering Silver didn't save. I hope Silver manages to get a good fight here. A no-hit Sands doesn't actually save time most of the time. You'd need like frame-perfect menuing to actually get a fast no-hit Sands fight, because you got to consider the menu bones. Like, in order to avoid damage on those, you need to be almost frame-perfect with your menuing. So, yeah. The fight has begun for Silver, and I'm just gonna be pulling for them. I'm like praying for success here, because given the amount of damage already seen, a couple of turns into the fight, and the fact that there's been no save, I'm really hoping that the rest of the fight goes well. I do think that the first half of the fight is the harder section of the fight, but it kind of really depends on how much you practice the fight. The first half is virtually without RNG. The attack patterns are pretty much always the same. I mean, the attack patterns are the same, but there can be some RNG in how some of the attacks come at you. But the second half of the fight is the random section, which, you know, some people can definitely struggle with. I just find it quite a bit easier to deal with as long as you are familiar with the patterns, like you've got good pattern recognition. Like, there's RNG in where the bones present themselves here. As you can see, a little minor hit taken by Silver there. And WizardVapes is going to be starting the fight now as well. Like, I will be very surprised if at this point Silver doesn't take a halfway point heal once he reaches that far. Yeah, slightly cleaner start from WizardVapes. Silver's still going pretty strong though, coming towards the end of the first half. I think it's just 2 more turns after this. Alright, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, he's just going in. No heal. This is... probably knows that potential PB pace is on and just wants to really go for it. This is quite a brave decision. I think there was a momentary realization there as well that if PB pace is going to continue, that it needs to go as fast as possible. Not wait for those menu bones. Okay, going pretty well so far. Thankfully, with this specific attack, with the 4-directional attack, any keyboard with any degree of anti-ghosting can actually attack this, avoid this attack for pretty much free, since holding all 4-directional keys auto jumps at the start of each mini cycle, and you just avoid this attack with no problem. It looks like he's actually manually dodging though. Like, maybe just does that on the slow ones, I'm not entirely sure. But that's well known for being one of the hardest attacks to actually dodge manually. Because the game just eats so many of your inputs there. Halfway heal for WizardVapes though. Which is, like, again, at this point, the only way to possibly make up the time difference would be to just go in as fast as possible, but again, it's unlikely that anything short of a run-ending mistake from Silver is going to actually make a difference here. Not too much HP remaining for the last attack, but as long as the final segment is fairly clean, this should be fine. Alright, moment of truth. Just don't mess up the rhythm. Looking pretty solid here. Yep, that's fine. That is a win. So, yeah, this is going to end up as a win for Silver. Very well played, well deserved. Sounds like a few seconds behind PB pace, but even if it doesn't wind up being a PB, this is still, you know, very well played altogether. And Wizard just closing off Sun's fight on their own side. A few more turns remaining in the fight. Still got to hold on for a couple of turns before reaching the special attack. And the HP situation is a little worse, but again, hopefully it's going to be sufficient, because there's this, then there's one more of the quote-unquote free attacks, and then there's the special attack. Wow, that's damage. I must have been trying to avoid that manually. Okay, I'm really pulling from him now. Strong start. Alright, last obstacle. And that's it, nice. Both with a relatively clean finish. And congratulations to Silver also on not saving before the Sans fight. That's pretty considerable. And both runners now do just have to wait until Sans falls asleep before progressing. This is the old thing, like, you know. It's kind of weird, but it gives the runner a chance, I suppose, to calm down and contemplate the fact that they're on PB pace, if they are on PB pace. You know, not exactly a guarantee, but you know what I mean. So one more animation change required here for Silver. You do need to wait until Sans falls asleep before hitting the border of the screen, otherwise it completely resets the cycle. That wouldn't throw the race result at this point, but it would make it much closer than needed. So you just don't go early there. Just wait until Sans falls asleep before moving. So yeah, we just have the ending coming up for Silver now. It's going to be level 20 just here, and then it's just moving on to Asgore. All right, Wizard also making progress towards actually finishing Sans off, but at the same time, on the other screen, Asgore's the one getting finished off. You can take additional damage while he's throwing you around based on what your inputs are. If you do nothing, then it might always be the same. I'm not sure, but you can make yourself take additional damage depending on your directional inputs. I'm not entirely sure if it's a jump scare ending run. We'll have to wait and see what the runners choose. I'll be doing it. I do jump scare every time. It's slower, but I do it just for the sake of it. I'm actually going to have to figure out how these are being captured and like basically determine if my desktop's going to be captured after the game's closed. After I do that, I ain't sure. I am Stick. Thank you. I got Stick. Oh, I think the runners just killed Sans Undertale. That's a funny meme. Yeah, man, seeing Asgore die again. Like, what's this? Come on, dude. Man, I've got another race in 20 minutes. Come on, dude. Like, it never ends. I don't get paid enough for this. I don't get paid anything for this. And Silver is coming up on... It's going to be a PB for them, by the way. Barely, I think. Kind of. 1905, and that is a troll ending. That is a 4-second PB for Silver. Wow. Congratulations, that is a race PB. Wish I could get a race PB, but it's not going to happen. And yeah, jump scare, it's really scary and all that. Well, I'm going to make a YouTube reaction video to the jump scare ending. That's also a funny meme, guys. Okay, so yeah, 109.05. Pretty special. Big congratulations to Silver both for the win and for the PB. Same thing yesterday with Mr. Link, I believe, was the one who got a PB and a race win simultaneously. Big achievement. I'm just waiting on WizardVapes to reach the end. What time am I going to guess here? I'm going to go with a 1:10:34. I think that sounds about right. I want 20 quid if I get this right. Oh, it's going to run over. Oh, damn it! I was so close, dude. I was so close to getting that right. It's always the last one that matters, and I got the last one wrong. Damn it. Nah, no jump scare there. So I don't know if we're going to be getting both of the runners in here for an interview. I'm just waiting to see if people join the setup channel, because I think that's where I see people. So I'm just waiting on it. It could be that we're getting one. If we're not getting one, then that was, a very closely fought race for the first half of the race for sure. Like, that was uncanny with how close it was the first half of the race. Well, being how behind schedule we were, I mean, I don't really know, because if there's something scheduled for SpeedGaming 2 now, then I want to say there's definitely no time for an interview. But I have no idea if there is. I have no idea what's scheduled for SpeedGaming 2. I actually haven't checked, so I have no idea if we're taking up someone else's time slot right now. And I don't know who we quickly contact to establish that. I don't know. Although I suppose, I don't know, maybe staff will have been shouting at us to get offline if that was the case. I'm really not sure. Yeah, 16 minutes. It's scary. Like, I get a 15-minute break and then straight back. It's just like being in work. Except, like I say, I'm not getting paid for this. But either ways, yeah, thanks very much to both of our racers. I believe that the next race is on, let me check. It's on the regular SpeedGaming channel, so it's just on SpeedGaming 1. Lucky you guys. Lucky people indeed, getting to see it on the big stage. I mean, it's barely different, but you know what I mean. So yeah, once again, big congratulations. I am going to assume that, like I say, I can't see either runner like in here right now. I'm going to assume that there is actually no time for an interview. I mean, we basically at this point need to start preparing for the next round, which is going to be, as I say, on SpeedGaming 1. So if you want to see more of this, just edit that URL, just remove the 2, go to SpeedGaming, and in 15 minutes, hopefully in 15 minutes, if everything's ready, we're going to start with the next race, which is between Enhar and Radu. And yeah, Silver is going to go from the racer role to the commentary role, and I'm going to be staying on. I have to do this all over again. So I will see you guys in about 15 minutes. And thank you guys very much for watching.